Hello, guys. This is going to be an interesting one today. I want to review a situation that happened. The situation that I'm going to review is a lady that ended up getting arrested, taken away at a sports game at a school. And the reason was she didn't have a mask on. And a police officer liaison for the school had to come along and remove her from the school because she didn't want to follow the policies. Now, policy can be anything. Policy could be me owning a business and implementing a policy for that business saying this is what I want to be followed because this is my establishment, this is my business. Even with the schools, sometimes you don't get to dictate what happens. If what doesn't happen, it's the school board that decides that or the governing state that decides that. It doesn't even have to be a law. It's something that they may allow themselves for people to congregate together under certain circumstances. Now, mind you, our children have been cooped up because of COVID 19 for months and months and months and months now. And if you can think back a couple months ago, there was a guy that made a viral video and he said, "My son is dead because of COVID 19." But wait a second. It's not because of COVID 19 that my son died. It's because of COVID 19 that my son became so depressed. He couldn't see his friends. He couldn't go out in public with them. He couldn't go do the things that they used to do. And he fell into this deep state of depression, not being able to have that communication, that camaraderie with his friends and stuff like that. And it ended up doing a number on him. And instead of him communicating with us and talking to us, he eventually ended up taking his own life. My son was never like this before. He was able to go out with his friends. He was a person that had to be socially involved with people because that's what made him the creature that he was. The majority of us are social creatures. The majority of us need human interaction. The majority of us thrive and play off that interaction, that feeling and emotion of bonding with other people. That's how we were created. We weren't created to be individuals by ourselves, cooped up in the middle of a house not being able to get out. It would do a number on us. That's why they say that domestic battery has risen. That's why they say that child abuse has risen. That's why they say that alcohol abuse has risen, drug abuse has risen, because these people don't have anything to do. Um, and when we think about things in general, sometimes we have to critically think and be of sound mind, no matter if we're Democratic or if we're Republican people. If you're libertarian, whatever it is, I'm more middle right than I am anything, but I'm not a complete conservative and I'm definitely not a Democratic person. But I do know when I see radical thinking from the Democratic and from the Republican Party, and I call it out a lot. And a lot of my conservative friends don't like the fact that I call them out on that because I'm like, wait a second, you're not being logical here. You want to complain about Black Lives Matter and Antifa and stuff out in the streets protesting, and I get what you're saying. But Trump rallies, hundreds of people, nobody with masks on. If you were really that concerned about this lady at this sports game not having a mask on, or it's her right to not show up, then why are you complaining about these protesters out in the streets not wearing masks? Why are you saying, well, look at them? And you're using this as a talking point, as ammunition or fuel for your fire. If we're going to be fair, then we need to be right down the middle fair. We need to stop picking and choosing exactly who we're going to point the finger at and not point the finger at based on our own ideology. We've become a society of ripping each other apart and trying to find every excuse in the world to tell people that they're wrong for something, but yet we'll turn around and try to justify why we should be able to do it. I want to play the video first before I go any further. I want to pull up the actual response from the school, where the school actually said, wait a second, guys, let me tell you what happened before you get emotional over this lady getting arrested, because you did the same thing that people did with Breonna Taylor. They reacted without even knowing what happened. With George Floyd, they reacted without even knowing what happened. With Ferguson, they reacted without even knowing what happened. These are all things that people didn't get information on body cam or audio recording before they reacted to these things that happened. Well, now we have this lady getting arrested at a sports game, and we have conservatives just going absolutely apeshit over it, thinking that they understand what's going on before they even realize what happened. Now, put your ego aside, put your pride aside, push all that away for a second, neutralize this moment right here where we sit right now watching this video. Bring everything to a clean slate right now. Stop thinking about what you think is right and what you think is wrong. Let's watch this video together, and then let's talk about this video together, and let's see why we cannot and we should not continue to act the way that we do to everybody, no matter what side you're on, and critically think through this like logical people, like people that actually care about society. Let's play the video. I'm going to play it on Fox, and then I'm going to play it on CNN so people can say that I wasn't being unfair with the whole entire situation, that you could hear it from both. So here is the one from Fox. It's going to be the same video. So the officer here, you're not going to hear it because the audio is playing through my headset. The officer here is pleading with her. She doesn't have her mask on. The people around her have her mask on, but this child right here doesn't have a mask on. And I know some states don't make children wear masks if they're under a certain age. This officer is talking to her about the situation. She's obviously not having it. He's tired of trying to deal with her and handle the situation, so he moves in to actually remove her from the situation because she's not listening to whatever's going on. So the lady next to her right there is eventually going to get involved in the situation. She knows better than that. Stay out of it. It has nothing to do with you. We complain about people getting involved in officer situations all the time. And a lot of times conservatives and liberals will complain about this. But it's more the conservatives that say, well, why don't you just comply? Why don't you just do what the officer says? Why don't you just go with the flow so you don't cause more problems? Why don't you just do the right thing? Well, she's not doing that here. She thinks that she knows more about the situation that's going on and she has more rights than what she has. So even if she did, this is her way of reacting to the situation. She's fighting. She makes it worse in this situation. Now this other lady's getting involved. Already, they both would have been gone. You cannot do this. This is not right. We don't like it when the liberal people do, when Black Lives Matter do, when people in the streets fight and resist and then other people get in. We complain about it like madmen. We complain about it and say, that's not right. That person should go to jail. That person should get this, that. Well, why are people standing up for this woman getting involved in this situation? She should have moved away, move the kids away, and let them handle it, because obviously there's something going on here that she's not doing that the school wants done, and you're on their property. I understand it's a public school, but until you get a group of people together, a committee of people together to change something in the school, you have no say so. All you're doing is flapping the gums and complaining, but doing nothing about the situation. They want to give the children an opportunity to play sports, to get them out of the house, to relieve some of that depression and stress that may be built up in their body and in their life. They're giving them an outlet. They're doing something for them. And from what I read from the school, you, in an indoor event or an outdoor event in this state or this town, wherever this took place, they are asking people, if you're going to attend, you need to have a mask on. If you cannot have a mask on your face, then you need to not attend the event. We're trying to give the children the opportunity to get out of their bubble of being in home, cooped up, depressed, and let them go out and play. Now, push your ego aside for a second, push your pride aside away for a second, push your extreme view of you not having to listen to all this stuff, because I get it. I don't want to put the damn mask on my face either. I hate the mask. I hate that they're making people do this. But I also realize logically that if I'm going to somebody else's establishment, if I'm going to a business that is catering to the state and doing what they want done, I'm at their mercy. Either I don't go to that business and I find another establishment that doesn't make me do what I think I shouldn't do, and I support the right business if that's my way of doing it, or I just don't partake at all. Let's continue. So the child has more sense than all of them does. The teenager that's next to him, he looks like he's probably 13, 14, 15 years old. He's got enough sense to get the child and move him out of the way, while this other lady over here is continuing to try to get involved with this situation. While this, honestly, the smaller women fight like crazy. I mean, they put up a really, really, really good fight, and this woman puts up a really good fight. He's saying, "Put your hand behind your back, lady." You're not arresting for me for nothing. I'm not doing anything. And now here comes this guy in the purple shirt. He walked across the field, and he's up here trying to see what's going on with the situation as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy didn't have something to do with the police officer being there. Like maybe he's like a head coach or like a school official that maybe enforces some things. Assistant principal, who knows? And these people back here, obviously they don't like what's going on either, because the lady that's closest to the camera over here says this is over a mask. Well, from what I see, all the other adults there are wearing a mask. These two up front have masks on. This guy has a mask on. The lady here has a mask on. You can hear how muffled her voice is through the mask. The police officer has a mask on. The guy in the purple shirt has a mask on. Everybody has a mask on, but this lady, she doesn't think it's right for her to do this. This guy's stepping in here telling her to stop trying to touch this officer, stop trying to get involved in this situation. The lady in the back here says, "Is this an actual police officer? Can he really do that?" Another lady speaks up and says, "I don't think he can really arrest her for not wearing a mask." She's telling somebody to call the cops. Whoever's recording back here is saying, or somebody right here by the lady recording is saying, "Call the cops." He's got police across his back on the side and on the side of his shirt, because they were questioning whether or not he was really a real officer. But from what I see from the school and the way they responded, he's like a police officer that's the school liaison officer. So he just tased her because she won't stop fighting. So he just tased her. So now he got his point across. She's obviously putting up a fight, and this woman's strong. And I've noticed a lot of the skinnier women that they're like more athletic build or fit type build. They're they're really hard for these officers to fight with, because they are just feisty as hell. And it's really hard for these officers to detain them. And this guy right here is a fairly decent sized guy, and he is not able to control her at all. He can't get her arms behind or anything. So he pulled out the taser and got her right in the side with it. And now she put her hands behind her back. So they're kind of being petty right now, because they're like shouting at him saying, "Hey, where's your mask? Where's your mask?" the guy was just fighting with her to get her hands behind her back and actually cuff her. The reason he didn't have his mask on is because he was like literally in the middle of fighting with her, and his mask kept getting knocked off of his face. So yeah, I understand people are going to be petty like that because they don't like the situation. Even all the people in the stand that I heard so far was pretty much standing up for her, saying that they didn't feel what he was doing was right. The fact of the matter is the school still put this out that if you're going to be at a public event, indoor or outdoor, you got to have something on your face. And see, this is what people are not talking about here. This is what people are not talking about. This is the big thing right at the end of the video that I was talking about. This is not just as simple as a lady not wanting to wear a mask. As she's walking away, she says, "Remember how many times we've been in this together? Remember how many times we've done this together?" This is not something new to her. She's obviously had situations where this has happened before. So I don't know if this lady has looked for these problems before or tried to see how far she could push it, but it's her own words. I mean, you can't deny that. She obviously knew what she was doing when she got here. She knew the repercussions that could happen, and she's dealing with the worst of the situation right now. She went into this knowing what could happen and still tried to exercise her rights anyway. But when you go into somebody else's establishment, when you go into somebody else's store, it's not so much your rights anymore. Yeah, you're there to support their establishment, but really a school, something like that, they have policies put in place. And if you want something changed, you have to get a community of people together to push this change. And if just one person shows up and says, "I shouldn't have to do this," it doesn't work. You need to get a group of people together to go after the school and say, "This is not right. This needs to be changed, and we're not going to stand for it." Well, then the school may turn around and say, "That's fine. You want to do that then? We don't feel safe with that because we can't make sure everybody else is safe, even though the masks really don't do anything anyway." I agree. I mean, they're the minimal form of any kind of protection at all, especially with some of the masks that I see people wearing where they cut their wife's bra out and they put straps and stuff on it. It doesn't even fit over their face properly. It doesn't really filter anything. Then you get this thin jogging pant type material that doesn't do anything anyway. So I get that point, and I agree. I hate wearing the damn mask. I don't think it's right that we're forced to wear it, and I don't think it's right for me in public if I'm closer than 6 feet to be forced to wear it. But you know why I do it? I hate it. I go to stores that don't make me wear it. I go to gas stations that don't make me wear it because that's the smart thing to do. Because in that situation, I don't cause problems. But what I don't get is why will you continue going to an establishment complaining about it? Unless you're actively doing something to change it, you're bitching about something that you cannot change. You're not going to change anything by getting on the internet and doing this keyboard warrior stuff and then flapping them gums but not doing anything about it. So it's not necessarily a form of conforming. You know how the minority community says your silence is exactly the same thing as you perpetuating something? Well, that's exactly what's going on here. Your silence by not doing something about this is the same thing as you perpetuating the act of being okay with it. So you can talk on these keyboards all day and you could yip yap to each other at work and stuff all day. But until you get out there and you actually start physically being present in public protesting this stuff, going to the courthouse, going to the school, going to the local community organizations, you're not doing anything. You're just complaining. You're just complaining because you don't think something's right. And I get that that may be a little bit of temporary stress relief, but you're not doing anything. Nothing at all, just wasting time. See, all these people have masks on their face. Everybody in the stand, this kid, they all have masks on their face. And he says you can't arrest somebody for not wearing a mask. Well, in regular public, you're right. But when you're on a school ground, when you're in a private establishment or something like that, you certainly can get arrested. She just told that cop right there, "You don't even have your mask on." She just walked right up when she was running. So let's go back and look so you guys can see what she's talking about. She sure enough did not have her mask on. But she said the cop pointed back towards the cop car that she came from and said I had to run from right there. So she's using that as an excuse why she was running and not having her mask on. So let's look. Right there. She don't have no mask on. It's in her hand though. She left the car and she went running. She's got it in her hand. And then the lady catches her down here about the mask. She says, "Well, you don't have your mask on." Right there. She's going to tell her, "Well, wait a second. You don't have your mask on." And then the lady turns around and points back to the car she came from to run towards him and help him basically arrest her. And now this lady complained about her running over there and not having a mask on. Now she's putting her mask on. Okay, so I don't know that it's necessary that we go to another page um, to review the whole entire thing again. I mean, we could go back here and we can go. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go and see if the school's response is up here. Stupid ads pop up on all these news channels now. This person right here in the comment section says, "I live in Ohio and masks are not required outdoors." Now the school might have a mask policy to comply. It's not a policy matter if a school policy, it's a school matter. In fact, most police stations report not to call them, but call the health department. The health department is responsible to enforce. So in these situations, I get how everybody may be concerned with this whole entire thing. This person here says she broke the rules. The school has a right to call law enforcement. That goes for any trespassers, regardless of how dumb the rule is. It's still a school rule. It's something that they put in place. And that's what I'm getting at, is you cannot get past that. No matter what your rights are, no matter how you feel like they've been infringed on or something like that, it's not your say at the end of the day. You're not on your establishment. That is a public group establishment. And I guarantee you right now, it's a pretty split decision on whether or not they want this type of environment in their school sports and stuff like that. Like if I was to say, I probably see 50 to 60% of people are not for the mask, but there's a big majority of people that are scared and they want the mask. So you might, depending on the area that you live in, you might not get away with having your way, even if you had a group of people come together to fight it. You may still lose that case. There's a lot of people that still want it, and they're kind of to the point where they're like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm gonna try to find school response to woman arrested for no mask. Okay, so I want to share this with you guys. Let's keep it on point, guys. Let's not worry about the petty stuff. Let's talk about the situation at hand here, not the police officers, please. That's petty. That's not even part of the conversation right now. So this is a Pennsylvania real-time news. Mom tased for resisting arrest after refusing to wear mask or leave middle school football game. Schools in Logan, Ohio were forced into lockdown Thursday due to protests, confirmed the Marietta Times. These protests were suppressed or were spurred by an incident that occurred Wednesday in which a woman watching a middle school football game was tasered by a school resource officer for resisting arrest for not wearing a mask or leaving the campus. Let's go to Marietta Times just to see. Okay, schools in Logan lockdown are down over mask incident. Logan, the police department confirms Logan Hocking schools were on lockdown Thursday due to threats to both the school system and the police department. Protesters with signs stating "Back the Blue," "Stand with Smitty," and "Smitty, you make the world a better place" stood outside of the department. The threats and protests are in response to an incident Wednesday evening at the 8th grade football game in Logan against visitors from Marietta City Schools. According to the department, Alicia D. Kitts of Marietta was forcibly removed from the game Wednesday by Logan Police School Resource Officer Chris Smith, who was working a special duty detail for the game. She was asked to put her face mask on, would not, then asked to leave the stadium and refused prior to the altercation taking place. Kitts was charged with criminal trespassing before being released at the scene. Heavy law enforcement presence was noticed on major routes headed into Logan Thursday. Okay, so now we want to figure out. So this woman not putting a mask on spurred all kinds of drama. Spurred the kids not being able to go to school, the community in an uproar for and against. It's this is ridiculous. Logan Hocking local schools were on lockdown. Okay, I want to try to find. Um, okay, Monty Bainter, Logan Hocking superintendent, said he was reviewing the situation but acknowledges that it was not ideal, but inevitable due to health restrictions imposed by state health officials. The policy is you have to wear a mask, Bainter said. We want our kids to be able to have athletics. We don't have a choice. We have to wear a mask. State law requires social distancing, face coverings, and no more than 1,500 people or 15% of stadium capacity for sporting events. Athletes are also required to wear face coverings while on the sidelines. Bainter declined to discuss the officers' methods or other details of the incident. The middle school stadium appeared to have few attendees, and the group of about 5 sitting with the woman were isolated from others. Calls to Hocking County Municipal Court were referred to Logan City Attorney Abby Saving, who did not immediately return calls. Governor Mike DeWine, at his Thursday coronavirus news conference, called the incident very unfortunate, very unpleasant. He said tolerance and love and people trying to work together should bridge such difference and conflict, which I agree. They have, regardless if we like it or not, they are trying to literally force these policies. And the schools are trying to adhere to things in order for these kids to get out and operate the way um, that children should be able to operate in the minimal form of feeling like they're being restricted. So we're going to have to push some of our pride and ego away, or we need to go fight this. And this is not how you fight it. This is not how you do it. Just like a lot of people say the Black Lives Matter protests, the Antifa protests, and stuff like that. This is not how you incite change because of the violence and the aftermath of what happens. This is the same exact situation. This is not how you fight this. You have to have numbers. You have to come together as a community, and that's how you fight it. You're not just one person being a nuisance at a football game just because you can. And then as she's walking away, she's looking at the people that she was with saying, remember, we've been through this before. We've done this before, as if she's pushed this before. Well, if you want to do that, then you need to get a whole group of people with you to make a stand, to really make an effort for people to see and hear what you're what's being infringed upon. If you're just doing it by yourself, you look like a nuisance. If it's a whole group of people making noise over it, then people are going to start to see what's going on. This woman didn't do anything constructive here. I'm sorry. I don't care if people agree with me or not. This was not a constructive way to do this. It actually caused more problems than what it was worth. Logan Hawking School. Ghetto. Logan Police Department, Logan Hawking local schools, protester with. I need to find the school. What's the school's name? Gosh dog it. I need to find that. Come on. I don't know. It's not. I'm not going to be able to pull it up right now. I need to be able to pull it up. Okay, so I'm just going to stop screen sharing for right now and talk to you guys about this. So here's the deal. I seen the school response pop up on Facebook directly from the school, and the superintendent, the principal, whatever, whoever he was, responded and said, "Look, guys, it looks worse than what it is." But this lady was literally told before she came in that this was not acceptable. She knew that it wasn't acceptable. Regardless of what you believe you should and shouldn't be able to do, now you're messing it up for the children because you're being selfish. You're messing it up for the children. And these children want to be able to go out here and play these games, de-stress, depression levels drop down and stuff like that. But because you think you have rights and a school is infringing upon them, you want to ruin it for the children out there playing and the people in the stands that have to get emotional and try to stand up for you and everything else. And the next day there's protests, the school's got to get shut down. Then you got two opposing sides, some people standing for the police and then some people standing against the police. You create enemies by doing this. It's not the police officers that you need to be mad at. It's the school that you need to be mad at, and then you need to take it higher from there. Like, I don't understand how conservatives can be pro-police at one point, um, but then turn around when a police officer actually does what he's supposed to do, when the school says we need help, and then turn against them. Sometimes conservatives can be just as bad as liberals in that standpoint, and it's terrible, the fact that one side will play against the other, but then turn around and do the same exact thing that the other side does, and then cry wolf. It's one of those things now that I don't even like getting involved in these situations, but I see that it's blowing up so bad on social media over this entire situation, and nobody's being logical about it. You know what I do when I want to go to Walmart if they have something that I don't want? I'm not ordering curbside. I walk in, I put a stupid mask on my face just for the moment of going in there and coming back out. Do I like it? Absolutely not. I fucking despise it. I hate it. And I make myself heard in public when I'm at my events. I hold signs. We hold signs along with our patriotic signs or something like that that have messages or something on them that specifically put something out to the public to start fighting for your rights. But I don't go in a store and make myself into a damn ass and stand there and make everybody else feel uncomfortable because I think that my rights are being infringed upon. There's a methodical way of doing it, a public way of doing it with a community of people, not by yourself, making yourself look like an ass, while the rest of the bleachers and stands and stuff, they have to feel emotional and sad for you because an officer is coming to do what he's been asked to do. Now, I've specifically asked police officers, now, if this establishment says that they don't want me in their establishment without a mask on, and I go into their establishment without a mask on, can you arrest me? And he says, look, this is what I cannot do. I'm not going to arrest you for being in that establishment with a mask on or without a mask on, and they're telling you need to have one on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show up, I'm going to put you in cuffs, and I'm going to remove you from the property. That's my job to do what that business owner is asking me to do. That establishment, that school, whatever is asking me to do. I have to remove you from the property. 99.9% of the time, after I remove you from the property, I'm going to let you go. I cannot arrest you on that. They're doing their job. They are literally fucking doing their job, and people are complaining about it and being complete fucking winebags over it, like the world owes them everything. How can you be for something at one time and then turn around and be completely against it because your feelings are hurt or because your ego is hurt? I'm one of the biggest proponents for people's rights. First Amendment, Second Amendment, all the amendments. I get it. But at some point in time, you have to start thinking critically and get the bullshit out of your head and pull all that clouding out of the way and actually look at what's going on in front of you. I'm so disgusted lately by a lot of the conservative stuff that I'm seeing on social media because a lot of them are starting to turn kind of radical. A lot of them are starting to say, well, it's okay for me to do it, but it's not okay for you to do it. Well, good police officer, pro police, hold the police flags and everything else. But when they go fucking do their job, now all of a sudden it's, oh, I don't know why he did that. He didn't have to tase her. He didn't have to do this. Oh, yeah, luckily he didn't pull his gun out and shoot her ass. Because that's the situation every single time, right? Well, why didn't he tase her? Why didn't he tase her? Well, this is the first time the guy actually pulled the taser out and tased the woman, and now you're complaining about it. Explain to me how that's logical. The school clearly said you're not on our premises without a mask during sporting events. That's what the state wants done right now. It's not a law, but it is a policy. Regardless if you want to do something about it or not, the only way to get anything done is by coming together as a community and fighting for it. You're not going to be able to make an ass out of yourself as one time and say, I'm going to go fight this war by myself and make myself look like an ass and then lose and say, oh man, that wasn't right. That's not how you fight a war. That's not how you get things changed. You get people together. You start your own little internal revolution and you make a change that way. You cannot do it by yourself. So if you think you not wearing a mask and making an ass out of yourself and then shutting the community down because you decided that you wanted to be selfish and put your ego in the way, you look like a damn fool. You look like a complete damn fool. None of this was done right. If you wanted to do something about that, you should have got a hold of those people that were in the stand and went around and talked to every single one of them and said, you know what, you guys want to make a stand right now? Let's all pull our masks off and sit here. They're not going to remove all of us. But you want to make an ass out of yourself, and obviously it was known that that's what you were trying to do because they were already prepared for it. This is what you get. I mean, at some point, conservatives, liberals, Democrats, and this right here. Because when she was leaving, when she was walking away from the stands, it's exactly what she said. Remember, we've done this before. We've been through this before. Remember? as if this is something that's happened maybe many times. So this is not her first rodeo with this whole thing. She knows exactly what she's doing. I just don't get how the whole thought process behind all this is okay. When are we going to start looking at what's going on right now and respecting other people, respecting the establishments that we use? They don't want to go out of business. They don't want to be put on the hook for somebody else getting COVID-19 or all these people ending up with COVID-19, which we know is probably not going to happen. A lot of us believe it's complete hogwash bullshit. But at some point, you have to look beyond all that and say, look, we're all put under so much stress right now because of this whole entire situation. At some point, we have to start having some compassion for other people and saying, look, sometimes you have to do shit you don't want to do. Put the damn mask on. Enjoy the game. Be done with it. Eventually this shit is going to go away. I don't like it any more than the next person does. And I'm smart. I won't wear a mask out when I'm shopping. Why will I not wear a mask out when I'm shopping? Because I will go to places that I know do not force me to wear a mask. I don't want to cause confrontation with other people. I don't want to make other people feel unsafe because of something that I've done, because I know and I care about the way people feel. But there's also a part of me that says I don't want to care as well, because I need to care about me. But I know I have to care about the way other people feel as well. I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable because of my selfish choices, right? So I'll go to the Shell gas station. I'll go to the Chevron. I'll go to the BP. I'll go to the little convenient store that they don't like wearing them. I'll go to the tobacco store if I got to get my vape or something like that I know doesn't force people to wear a mask. I'm smart about it. I don't go make other people feel uncomfortable. I find a way around the problem. I just don't see the logic in everybody wanting to protest and get all crazy and stuff over the situation with this woman that obviously knew exactly what she was doing. And this is what you get. So if you're going to stand behind the police and you're going to say, hey, thanks for doing your job and everything else, and then the one time they actually do their job because the school calls them to remove a nuisance from the property, regardless if you like it or not, now's not the time to turn around and say, bad cop, you didn't do your job. Remember, they still report to people. They still take orders from people. That guy's put in a place where he's there to serve the school. He is a liaison officer. He is there for the school. He's not taking community calls where he leaves the school and goes 2 blocks away and arrests some guy for beating the hell out of his girlfriend. He's there arresting some kid for getting into a fight and beating the crap out of another kid. He is the school officer. Every article that we read and looked over tonight, he's the liaison officer. So for those of you that think, oh, he's supposed to be there to serve the public and everything else, like I've seen all over social media, that's exactly what he's doing. He's serving the public by being there at the school to protect your children and the rest of the people that are there. How in the fuck is he not serving the public? That's his job. This is the point where people, conservatives and Democrats, whatever, libertarians, they don't critically think. And then all of a sudden politics starts getting pulled into all this. And I'm like, guys, this has nothing to do with color, race, gender, politics. It has none of that. This has something to do with somebody literally not wanting to do something because they think their rights are infringed upon. Now, if you want to expand off of that and go into what politics are controlling this, I'm sure we could go that direction, but that's not important right now. What's important is the bigger picture here is the children out there playing that football game. The children out there that I can tell you right now how grade school and high school football made me feel. It took me feeling like I was just a normal small person to a person that was way up here. It lifted my spirit. It took my stress away. It made me feel like a completely different person. It made me feel like I was the happiest person in the world those moments that I was on that field. It made me feel like I was in this brotherhood of people just waiting to make and defend and attack that next play. It was everything that I lived for when I was in grade school and high school. Can you imagine what it would be like going through this depressing state of COVID, not being able to do anything, not playing sports, none of that, and then all of a sudden getting the right to do that back and then implementing something They could give these children those freedoms back so they could be back out there on that field, feeling that feeling again, that joyfulness of being out there with their team, that camaraderie. And then all of a sudden, one mom comes along because she doesn't want to wear a mask and just throws a wrench in everything and just fucks everything up because that's her right. Her rights are being infringed upon. I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but at the end of the day, there's something bigger than us. There's something bigger than just us and our egos and what we want. Our children are probably the most important thing in the world to most of us. I don't even have kids, and I care more about your kids than I do any adult because I know how important it is for children to be able to develop and have that community amongst each other and those social skills and being able to get out and be active and enjoy life. And if they can't do that, a lot of the development gets messed up. A lot of their social skills and stuff like that gets messed up. Some of the most happiest moments, most joyful moments in their life is when they're on that field with their brothers, when they're out there fighting with their friends to win that game. It's the time of their life where they're going to put the most effort into something, and they're going to say that I gave it all. I gave it all. I put it on the line. I gave all my energy, all my heart, and I fought to the death of finishing that game with my friends. It's something that's built like when you start playing a sport and you're out there with people that you just adore and love to play that game with, it's a completely different feeling. Stop thinking only about yourself and realize there's something much, much, much bigger than you. And it's not COVID. It's not the mass. It's not your rights. It's those kids that are out there. It's those kids that are out there that are being able to do something that they haven't been able to do in a long time, and they're at least giving that back to them. Stop being selfish. That's all I have to say. Now, I'll open it up to you guys and go back through and look at this. You know, and this is a big thing here too. Soul Sister says, my guess is that a lot of these people who keep talking about their constitutional rights probably don't even vote and probably complain when they get jury duty. You know, I could not have even said it better. I know a lot of people complain online. A lot of people are keyboard warriors and they'd like to flap them gums and bump them gums, but they don't do anything about it in life. They don't go vote. They don't take the extra step to help people in life, but they sure do complain. They sure do complain a lot about how their rights are being taken away, but they don't take the extra step to do anything for anybody else. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but that is the majority of people that I see running that mouth, running them little keyboard fingers across, like they got something to say, but they don't do nothing about it. People demand respect, but won't give it. Absolutely. 100%. I wonder if he asked her to leave the property before this escalated. Oh, he absolutely did. That when I first started the video, he was talking to her. He had his hands down by his side, and he was explaining to her what was going on. She still wasn't having it. He gave her the chance to get up and leave or put a mask on her face. She just was not having it. The cop couldn't run a short distance with a mask on. I mean, you have to think about what's going through that police officer's head or security officer's head as they're trying to respond to something. Their first thought is not putting this newly acquired mandatory mask thing on their face. There's a situation going on, and they're not always thinking about putting a mask on. I get it. But she did put the mask on when she was called on it. That's the important part. She reacted. The police officer reacted when it was brought to her attention that she didn't have a mask on. That's all that mattered at that situation. And it would have been the same way with the woman that was sitting in the stands had they had said, you know what, can you put a mask on or we're actually going to leave or we're going to remove you. That's the only options. There's going to be three options. Put the mask on, leave, or we are going to remove you. You pick one of the three, but get it done. The police officer was called on not having the mask on, and they put the mask on the face on her face immediately. I mean, there's no issue there. One person upsets maybe hundreds of people's lives, not fair and screwed up. Exactly. The lady, her rights were infringed upon. but it caused more drama and more chaos in the process of that. Schools being shut down the next day, protests happening, some people more, for the police standing up outside the police station with signs saying that they did their job, counter protesters that were probably for the police at this point now holding up signs telling them that they can't do stuff like this, the children not being able to be at school. So now they're going back right into this depressed state. I mean, over one lady and her mask. And to an extent, this is how I feel as well. I don't like to wear a mask. And I pick stores that don't make me wear a mask because I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, I'm not going to be that one individual that screws it up for everybody else because of my selfishness. There's a fine line on when you can and can't do that. Now I have walked into stores just to see what has happened. I actually seen Aldi's wasn't very busy, and I didn't have my mask readily available in the car. I would have to go in the trunk, open the pack up, and take one out. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in Aldi's right now. I'm going to see if they make me wear a mask. I walk right in the door, did all my shopping all the way up to the register, checked out probably $120, $130 worth of groceries. That's a decent amount at Aldi's. You can get a lot for $100 at Aldi's. And lady never said a word. Not a single word to me. The next time I came in, I had my mask on, and I asked her, I said, last time I came through here, you didn't make me put a mask on. And she said, no, I really can't do anything about it. I can't. If you don't have a mask on, what can I do? I can try to tell you that our store policy is put a mask on, but we're not going to stop you from spending money at our business because you don't put a mask on. The only thing that we would ask is if it's super, super, super busy in here that you would consider other people. But I still can't even make you do it then. I can ask you to leave. I can ask a police officer to take you out of my store. But really, at that point, is it worth it? No. But I do have options to have you removed from the property. But you're not going to get arrested for it. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. Everybody's like, oh, she got arrested. She got arrested. No, she didn't. She got removed from the scene and the police officer let her go. It's exactly what the articles say. The police are just doing their job. That's exactly it. I can't support the police part-time. If I'm going to support the police in the job that they do, I'm going to support the police in the job that they do. I'm not going to be a part-time supporter. I'm watching these people on this conservative page. Probably half are for what happened because they know the police officer was just doing his job. The other half are complaining about it. And it's like, dude, are you for them or are you not for them? I don't understand. If the guy's doing his job, then you should support him in doing his job. If the school asked them to be removed, he's doing his job. He's a school liaison officer. He's not a public officer that just, goes out and does house calls and stuff like that. The guy is dedicated to the school. We live in a very much me, yeah, me society. That's exactly it. This really sends the wrong message to our children. It absolutely does. It tells us that we can't get past our own egos. We can't problem think and work through things without causing a scene. It shows that we have lack of empathy for other people. The compassion is missing there. And it shows that we think that what our rights are and the infringement on our rights is more important than a whole field full of children out there that are probably having some of the happiest moments of their life. That joyfulness that's built up inside you while your parents, your loved ones are sitting in that stand watching you out there on that field, and the love and the emotion that's boiling in their body that's just oozing itself out. The happiness that they see as their child running back and forth with that ball and making touchdowns and plays and tackles, maybe getting tackled, just the fact that they're out there, all of a sudden, just for that moment, it's all gone while somebody is selfish. Our Walmart doesn't make people wear masks. Yeah, I'm not sure where that Walmart is, but the Walmarts around here definitely make people wear masks. They won't let you in the door without one. There's somebody standing at the door with a computer. She needs a timeout. Well, I mean, that's it, guys. There's really no reason to continue talking about this further. I just wanted to have a conversation with you because a lot of you think that I'm this hardcore conservative when I'm really not. I'm like middle right, if anything. I see the issues on both sides. I want change on both sides. I see both sides, left and right, don't really have the feeling for what should be going on in society that's fair to everybody. I don't like everything that goes on. Politics may play a small role in this whole entire thing, but when it comes down to the health department laying out guidelines for the state to operate, maybe there's something to be looked at there. But that's not for this video. This video is for looking at this woman and her selfish actions and how she responded to something in a very childish way. If you didn't want to wear a mask, then you should not have showed up at that game knowing that those officers were going to be there. That officer was going to be there to enforce it, especially walking away saying that we've been through this before. Remember, we've been through this before. So this is not an innocent woman here trying to protect her rights. I see a future of kids who will be diagnosed with ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. I mean, that's already going on now. Kids are growing up now and they don't even know how to work with one another. It's always about being defiant to the other side. You cannot make an agreement. You cannot come to some kind of uh, deciding factor to work together based on a situation. It's you always have to oppose, 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 and you don't get through life by doing that because you don't get anywhere. You create a lot of enemies that way, and it takes you a lot longer to get through in life when you don't create those relationships, because sometimes you have to suck it up and learn to coexist with people. You have to suck it up and learn to work through situations in order for you to possibly have a better outcome than what you expected before, by creating those types of relationships and learning how to work through situations in life. If all we do is try to fight, fight, fight every single time we turn around because of something being unjust, well, we're never going to fix any of these problems. What we need to do is it has to be a community effort. If everybody in that stadium felt like they shouldn't have those masks on, then they should have went to every single one of those people and said, let's just pull them off. Are you with me or not? Let's make a stand. Let's show them right now that we're not for it. But then that could have triggered the school to say, well, then how about we shut the game down now and everybody just leave and go home? Because we're not going to get hit with fines because parents don't want to follow the health department rules. Have a good night, Sophia. The school liaison officer had no choice but to tase her, otherwise he would be accused of manhandling her or inappropriately touching her. I mean, I'm sorry, but small, skinny, feisty women, man, man, they fight. They fight like the devil is coming out of them. You know, even in Iraq, when I was over there, when we would have to detain people, the skinny women put up such a hard fight for me to put zip cuffs on and just pull them off to the side. Just chill. You're not in trouble or anything like that. I just need you out of the situation, and you won't get out of the situation. The women that were like heavier set, they didn't want to fight. They were just like, all right, dude, just do what you got to do. Let's go. Let's get this over with. Hopefully we both enjoy it and then we can be done. And they would just be done. But the little small women that were all feisty and stuff like that, man, I hated having to detain one of them. Just momentarily because they would fight like the devil, and they're not fun to have to deal with. So I can only understand what this officer's having to go through with this woman fighting like she did. That's all I got. I don't have anything else unless somebody else wants to bring something up, or maybe there's another link or topic or something that somebody wants to share real quick. If you guys want to talk further about this, I'll stay and we'll talk more about it. But I think most of us have pretty much said what we really want to say. Okay, I'm going to get off of here. I don't see nothing else popping up. I know there's a little bit of a delay, but that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to cover tonight is just this particular situation because people just are not thinking about this critically at all. And they're not thinking about the bigger picture here. They were just really more along the lines of being selfish in this whole matter. Um, there's a way you can fight this, but it's not this way. This is not how you fix your rights being infringed upon is by going to a grade school football game and causing a scene to the point where the schools get shut down the next day and then people are protesting and everything else. At that point, you've taken things way too far, just way too far. Or maybe that's what people really wanted. Maybe that's what's going to eventually end up sending the messages. If you keep creating so much chaos over things, no matter if it's selfish or not, you're forcing people to make a change. The way I see it is if you don't like what the school's doing, you get the parents together and you go talk to the school. You don't show your ass in front of the children and make the situation worse just because you can, because it's your right. Okay, that's it. I'm going to get out of here. Y'all be blessed. I love y'all. Thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Hit that thumbs up. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs down. Tell me to flip off. Tell me to kick rocks. Tell me you love me, whatever you want. I'm here for you. Give me another idea, guys. What do you want to cover? We'll do it next time. Thank you. Have a great weekend, the rest of your weekend. Be blessed.